All right. So, going along with the theme that we are about not being ashamed of our past and not being afraid to tell our story. Now, to start off, this is a few pictures from when I was in 4th grade. I was in a tree and I fell out of the tree because the branch broke, and I was in a medically induced coma for 3 days. As far as I know, I was in a coma from the get-go. I fell 20 feet out of the tree, landed on my head in one way, shape, or form. I crushed my vertebrae, 2 of my vertebrae, and I had the spinal fluid coming out of my mouth, and I was crippled for a bit. I was unable to walk. Had a lot of people come and visit me, and it was a really neat time. A lot of support from my church congregation. But this instance in my life was pretty significant. Growing up, I had learning disabilities, still do. It's not like they ever went away. I just learned how to work with them, which I've shared with my classes before. But this instance in my life really turned me around. It helped me push forward, because like I said, I couldn't walk. I had to teach myself again, and I was a big kid. In 4th grade, I was as large as many 8th graders and 7th and 8th graders. But this story that I have chosen to celebrate is about a little boy and his friend the pelican. And the little boy, he has a learning disability, and he's really frustrated and feels stuck. And so this is kind of an introduction of the main character. And this is his boat, and then this is his friend the pelican. And this is a book that I am working on. And it's about how the little boy travels around the world, or goes on a trip with his friend the pelican to help. And the pelican teaches the little boy how to overcome his mental blocks and feeling how he's trapped and can't accomplish anything because of his inadequacies and because those are the things that are the biggest traps I have found in my life, the mind, and which I hear consistently from others, that it's our thoughts that really trap us and keep us from becoming our best selves. And so these are some sketches of working out my character. And here's another little pirate drawing I did for fun. But years ago, this is the first design I ever did for the characters for this book. It's charcoal on newsprint, so it's not going to last. But I looked at some pictures of my son, my first oldest son. Now I have, I think at this point when I drew this, I had 2 boys, and this is when he was like 3, and our second was just newborn. But you can see here how there's an X composition. X's are a very strong compositional format. But just a quick sketch working out the characters, and then years later This is my second son, still working, thinking through this idea. Never really sat down and started writing the book, just talked about it. And so this is William, and then this is Frederick, and this one's a little more fine detailed. But for years I've been working on understanding pelicans, just doing them in different ways. This was a kind of a Chinese watercolor style painting where it's just really loose on rice paper. And then these are charcoal quick sketches of some pelicans, familiarizing myself with their anatomy and their forms and gestures. And that was a quick sketch too. And then I put a little color to it. And then this is a more of a full value drawing, and then some smudged and didn't finish them at all. But these are just like a two-tone sketch and a three-tone sketch. And I've been working on boats. I love boats, so something that would be a part of the story. Traveling around the world and having a pelican friend. I've always had a love for the water. And so with this story, he goes through what's called the hero's journey. And he starts off on the dock, and he has some troubles. There's a point where he wanted to get out and try to get somewhere in his boat, but he rowed too crazy and he flipped it. And here the pelican tried to calm him down. And it's a really wordy pelican. He talks and talks and talks, and has a lot of wisdom to share with the little boy, but it's a little boy. This situation probably sounds a lot like me in the class, how I just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk all this crazy old long stuff. And so I'm still working on the pictures and the words. I kind of been working backwards. I made the book first. This is an old, or just a really loose, unfinished binding. But it's a story that I have had in my mind for years, probably well over 5 years. And I have been walking myself through my life story and experiences, and really teaching myself a lot of things through this process. And it's been a really neat experience. And whenever I do studies and practices at school, they're usually tied into something that I am interested in and passionate about. And so that's another animal study. But anyway, I just wanted to share those things with you. You've watched me draw plenty and go on and on about those things. But it's time for you to practice, ladies and gentlemen. Practice exercising your creativity. And we talked about fan art and the role that has. It's important. Fan art is, and stories, they pull us together and draw us close. But there's just something beyond consuming something else to when you take what you have consumed and apply it to your story. And that's what I've really been trying to get us to do this entire semester. First term, and now this second term, third and fourth term of the year 2019-2020 school year, to use art, to writing, drawing, to have it be a tool to think through things. Like sketching, we've really gone through a lot of tools for sketching, and we've, again, like we talked about earlier, objective and subjective. So you want to have the emotion, as well as this is a boy and this is a pelican, but the little boy is engaged. He's excited to talk to the pelican. The pelican's giving him his attention. He's looking, and it's a dynamic composition. It's interesting. There's the positives and the negatives. We have the leading lines, but all this space around these subjects are also they're engaging. They're as important as the subjects inside of it. This is making an arrow here. These are making arrows there. So all the information is going straight to here, and this is the story. So this is just a study, but what I'm wanting you to do is to first write about what you know. Okay, this is the assignment. You write about what you know, and what I know is the life that I've lived, and this is a mixture of my past and my present, and I'm working on projecting into my future. Because just like the gentleman was saying in the second video on the TED Talk, that he was ashamed to share. He didn't think it was relevant. But our stories are crucial to our understanding ourselves and our value. And so you're not supposed to get lost in just the fantasy of what you love, like dragons and video game characters and things like that. But you're to take those, like the Pixar guy says, you take the car chases, the monsters, and those things, and you apply it to your story. And so this week I want you to start doing some thinking about what you know, do some writing, and then coming up with some characters and things, characters that tell about you, tell about the people who surrounded you. And in this story, it's just the boy, the pelican, and his parents. And now I have 3 older sisters. I'm the youngest, and I've had a lot of support from friends and loved ones. But my story, my life, unfortunately, to my detriment, has been just me for a long time, where it's been a pity party, where I felt bad about myself and frustrated that I didn't feel like I was good enough or good looking enough or any of these things, and they still haunt me today because I've trained myself to think that way for so long. Thoughts are important, that we, like the TED Talk guy says, our past is foreshadowing for our future. And my past, it has been pity party, pity party, pity party, and until recently, in the past 10 years, I've really been serious about overcoming that and having a future, and being in charge of my future instead of just going day by day and hoping things are going to happen, but more proactively going about building my future, because I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I'm responsible for my students and my children and my wife and our future, and to help build my kids, who I've modeled my character off of, because I want this book to be something for them to learn how to overcome things that unfortunately they've been surrounded by my behavior. And so they'll be able to get to know me and the problems that I've had and the things that I've had to overcome and how I've overcome them through reading this story. And they'll have it for their kids as well, thanks to Amazon Publishing. It'll be, or I could use those self-publishing companies. Either way, this book's going to be published, and I will try to get it out to the masses and finish it sometime in the near future. But anyway, so your project for this week is to write a story, to write what you know, starting, like I said, on the side instructions of the website, to write down an experience that you've had. And so for me, in this book, the main experience was the learning disability and how it's affected me in my development as a person. Okay, so you're in 7th and 8th grade. You've had a variety of experiences, so choose wisely. But like it says in my story, like it shows in my story, and also we talked about in Monsters Incorporated and like stories, that they're not the raw facts. They're described in a way that is kind and fun, like Mary Poppins. If you've seen Saving Mr. Banks, which is a great movie that Disney put out, it's telling the story about how Disney got the rights from the author who wrote Mary Poppins. I don't remember her name. But it was a really hard life that the author lived. And it's the story about Mary Poppins is about saving the dad, because that's all Mary Poppins was about, was influenced from the hard life that she lived because of her father's addiction to alcohol, and that's how he struggled with his problems, and his her entire family, her mom, her sisters, suffered because of it. And her dad died when she was very young, and exposed her to some really, really hard life experiences that tainted her for her entire life, scarred her, until the way that the movie paints it, until Mary Poppins came out and was able to help the author of Mary Poppins work through those hard experiences. They did a phenomenal job. I would recommend you watch it. So anyway, you know me, I got the gift of gab. So hopefully you understand the project, and for you it will be due. The beginning parts, the writing out your thoughts, just writing, and starting to do some character designs like these kinds of things, coming up with some story ideas of what you're going to be having it. I love the water. I love the ocean. I grew up in San Diego. I love being in the water. I spend all my extra time I can kayaking in waters, walking in rivers, hiking in the mountains, along streams. I love the outdoors, but most of all, I love the water. And I love being in boats and swimming in the water. So those are things I know, and that they're dear to my heart. And so I'm excited to see what you do. Thank you so much.